and the crackers, police and their backers, they're all political actors.
What's going on, guys? This is Super Mike 2164. I want everybody to press the like button, press the share button. That's right. There's a hell below. Yeah, if there's a hell below, we're all going to go. I want y'all to understand this here. So listen to it.
Last night I was so depressed, and I went and got the Bible, and I turned to the book of Revelation. And if people would just get and read the Bible and read the book of Revelations, they would really turn around and straighten up. This is all we need to do, is just get the good book and read it and put it to everyday life.
Sisters, niggas, whiteys, Jews, crackers. Don't worry. If there's hell below, we're all gonna go.
Yeah, anyway, guys, this is Super Mike 2164. I want you guys to like and share. I want y'all to have a great day. I want to open up with a little bit something deep. You know, what I was thinking about here is there's a lot of people, we have a lot of God concepts out here. There's a lot of God concepts. Everybody thinks, you got the Christian God concept, right? And even the Christians argue and debate about that because the God, the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost, and then there's a Trinity thing going on. Then, the Muslims, they have the God of Abraham, which is the God, Allah. And then there's research that's talking about Allah, which is the creator, which is the Father. And then you have Nkulu, which I know that's some of the African gods. And then you have the Norse gods and Odin and Thor and all these various God concepts. But, the thing is, this word God, this concept of God, today is it science? When if I tell you something, and there's a lot of people, if they say, well, I'm just telling you science. Well, I'm just teaching you science. Is that their God? What is the greatest power in the universe? What is the greatest respected and worshiped authority in your life? Is that God really in reality? This icon that I have up is Master Farad Muhammad. This is a real human being. This is a human being. And he came to the United States of America. He traveled all over this planet. And he is not the God. He is God in person. Now, this is a whole different concept from what a lot of people have. And so, of course, that's going to produce friction, arguments, disagreements. There's going to be debates. There's going to be a lot of, conversation, or it'll just go away if it's nothing. If it was nothing, it will just go away. And, so that being said, what I want to do here is I want to go over a couple of, scientific, stories first. I actually want to go over a couple scientific stories because I want to lay a base. Because really and truly, I just want us to go over, and hopefully, if somebody wants to, you guys can come in and talk about it. We'll post a link so that way, if people have a comment or they have a concept, they can come in and talk about it. But what I want to do here is I want to lay out a concept that a lot of people believe in God, whether you believe in whatever various discipline you pick. A lot of people believe God is just made up. It's not real, like the tooth fairy. But what if that concept that we have of God is just being like made up, like Santa Claus or like the tooth fairy or like, a ghost or something like that? What if that's just something that we currently have been taught? What if God never was just made up, was never something that was supposed to be just made up? Okay, what if God had a reality? And what if the concept was completely different than what we're talking about today? Okay, so that's what I wanted to kind of touch on. But also, I believe that what we call science today is what is the idea of what we call science nowadays in 2021 basically have the same connotation or the same concept of what people call religion and spirituality, 1,000 years ago or 2,000 years ago. They believed that it was just as true as you believe science is true. You see what I'm saying? Because see, words are really just the sounds of an expressed thought. Really, that's what your word is. Your thoughts are what's important. The concepts that the word generates when it enters your mind, that's what's important. And so, like I said before, I'm going to put a couple of different concepts down, and I just want you guys to just think over it a little bit. If you so happen to get up in this chat, then we can go ahead and have you guys talk to me. Let me know that you want to come up. I'll post the link just like that. Like I said, press the thumbs up button, like and share. And I want to read you guys. Well, actually, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna read a couple of books. Hold on a second. Show y'all something. So for thousands of years, basically, I want to read something here. So for thousands of years, the people who did not have the knowledge of the person or reality of God worshiped their own ideas of God. Is that true or is that false? I mean, are we worshiping a made up idea or are we worshiping something that's actually substantial and can be proven? See, the thing is too, now if you say that God is just a concept, well, that's true. What's up? God is just a concept, but so is a number, because numbers are literally a concept. And let me go ahead and do this like this. Yeah, numbers are actually a concept. Mathematics is a concept. You've never seen mathematics. It's a human concept. Animals didn't come up with mathematics. Math is a concept. There's a lot of concepts. The thing about the human mind is we're not animals. So we can compare some behavior with animals, but we are supposed to exist on a higher level. We have the ability to think of a concept and then rearrange the universe The letters and numbers of the universe we conceptualize as the periodic table. The periodic table, that's the actual, our concept to symbolize the alphabet of the universe. If you can put those together, you create spells and words, and those can create materials, plastic, table salt, you know, polymers and, basically wires, all sorts of things, aluminum alloys. So that's what I want. So when people think they can dismiss scientific or concepts basically just because they say, oh, that's just a human construct, it's not that easy, because humans, this thing here, the brain, the human element changes the reality in the universe. You see? So why did the universe develop us? Is the universe God? What is the highest level of decision making in the universe? Is that the God concept? So this is what I mean. Like, okay, what are we worshiping? Are we worshiping an idea that's outside of ourselves and hoping that it will come to make something happen for us? The laws of cause and effect, is that what we're dealing with? You see? So, these are the kind of questions I want to put out there for us to think about. And the thing is, I've read this before, but I'm gonna read some of this again. I don't know if I can find it. I'll read this here. This is a book of God, and it's just talking about some history. Plato. Most of us right now is operating. You think you're operating out of the Christian concept of God. That word God. What do you think of? What is popping in your head when you hear that sound? God, 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 God. What is popping in your head? Is it an invisible spiritual thing? Or is it something that is tangible? Is it power? I don't know if I can find it. Let's look at it. Let's do this here. See, the temple, there's a lot of concepts that human beings can just come up with. And a lot of us, we don't understand this stuff because we haven't been taught these people, what they've come up with before us. And I don't want to go into. And so some of us actually believe we're still dealing with the way we were taught to understand these religions. And the Stoics. So I want to go, actually, I just want to deal with Plato. That's really what I'm trying to find. Because you got an Indian, Hinduist concept of God, Shiva and Shakti. But I'm trying to, and then, but a lot of the concepts of God, actually, the earlier concepts of God were actual physical forms. But today, the concept of God is really more like a, what's going on, guys? The concept of God before is like a physical form. But before the concept of God was a physical form. But today, most people's concepts of God is like some kind of made up thing, something we just made up. It's an idea that people worship, the most popular idea. That's what people are dealing with God. And I just want to show a couple of places where people can look into, because there's a open doctrines that are taught to the most of the people, but then there's a secret doctrine. And keep in mind, really the concept of God, whatever you want to pick, okay, if you pick, you can pick pretty much, you can pick a lot, you can worship a cabbage. You can worship a cabbage, but is that cabbage actually the supreme being? Actually, you know, you can worship money. Is it the supreme being? You can worship, you know, now the thing is, you can call the thing that we're calling religion, you can call it science today. You can worship Bill Gates. He would probably be a more powerful God than a cabbage, though, because that cabbage is it's only going to move when you decide for it to move or do what it needs to do. So this is what I want y'all to understand here. Like these concepts here, these human constructs, like numbers, like science, like religion, like God, they are real because we make them real. You see, because we are real, real, real. We're talking about matter, material. Now, that's kind of how I wanted to come at this here with y'all, because the thing is, though, if you worship a thing, let's say you worship money, then you will follow money and whatever concepts, however you need to get that money. If you worship cabbages, then I'm sure you're going to want to grow a lot of cabbages. If you worship, so we have to worship something. You have to understand that this concept is leading you somewhere. It's developing your brain, it's developing your mind, it's the dominant thought that's on your head here, you see. And so that's kind of where I want to go to here. I'm just putting out a couple of concepts. Man, I'm trying to find this one spot. I don't think I'm going to be able to find out. I guess I can't get it. Okay, so this is the Greek, because actually right now what we're dealing with is the Greek. The Greeks worship the black god as well. Now, I don't want to go to that part, though. Zeus in the typhoon. Oh, my goodness. The supreme being. One God. The 10,000th name. Muslim doctrine. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find this because I don't want to be looking through this whole thing for. Dang. Well, basically, Plato is the one who made up the God. Plato is the one that made God from formless, even soul or spirit. The word soul and spirit actually meant a person. There's a soul over there, a spirit over there. That actually meant a live body. Okay, so that's kind of what that is. Well, I want to go through this actually. This is a couple of stories. And the reason why I want to go through some of this here, because a lot of times here we argue about who we are, especially in Black America. Now, let me do this here. We argue about who we are. And that is actually, to me, based on DNA. I had a debate with some people on YouTube. We're talking about the origins of Black people, right? Who is Black American? And people are giving me, this is the Black Archaeologists group, and shout out to them. So we are indigenous Black Americans people, but we do have a mixture among us. There's not just from a land, because really and truly, you can't even say that we're from one land, but the people are asking, if we were already here, why is If we were already here, why is this a realization as of recently? Well, number one, because we questioned it. Because we questioned it. And so it's a recent realization because prior to this, the people did not have the knowledge to go deep into it and to effectively question it. So there you go, you got somebody researched it, and it's not really that recent. It's just recent on a wide scale. So people knew that we were bred. Some people were brought from Africa, but a lot of the tribes were conquered, and they are indigenous peoples. And of course, we had the white admixture because they were doing raping. But the way I proved this, number one, the way I proved this, we can prove this with stuff that we see. Hold on a second. I guess they want to. Hold on a second. Let me go backwards here. Yeah, but the bottom line is this. So what we're doing here is I just wanted to show a couple of things. I guess Facebook's taking the video down for some stuff. But the bottom line is, the way I proved this here, I just wanted to show that our people, our phenotype, has traveled the planet. Now, these are Indians. And I showed this before. These are actually Indians from the Indian Ocean. The Andaman Islands are in the Indian Ocean. It's closer to India. So, that's one. That's number one because, over here in America, it's called India, the West Indies, okay? So here it is, people with curly, kinky hair who's been out of Africa. If they don't have a genetic line that shows up in Africa, on the African continent. They don't have a genetic line that shows up in the African continent. And but you still want to call them Africans. I think that's insane. But okay. Because we're not just from one place. And so I'm showing that, then I show here. Excuse me. This is a brother from Vanuatu. Now, if you look at this man, he's from the islands. His people are from the islands, but because of not only the mixture of the dark African, but probably of the Oceanic and Melanesians, if you look at his hair, it's kinky and kind of curly. So you can see a little bit of the kink there, but it's not all kink, it's curly, because the Australians are what they call Australoids. They don't have kinky hair, curly hair like us. If you look at these women, they have the kink. That's part of your genotype and your phenotype. That's a signature part of Black American people and African people. That kink. You can follow that kink around. It's not just the wide nose. It's not just the thick lip, but it's also that hair, because actually we had to have a common ancestor with that hair because no other group has that kink. So that hair is an important signature to track us, to track our movements around the planet. And these are Australians. You look at their hair. I mean, it's more straight. See, this is, and this brother says, see, Mike, this is where you guys who don't study mess up. First, there was not a huge wave of people who left Africa at one time. As if you know. Okay, let's go with it. You can tell this is the case by the fact that most of those populations, such as Oceania and Australians and so on, have similar looks to each other. Well, that doesn't mean anything because they could have been there so long that they've blended with each other and mixed with each other for so long. 60,000 years of mixing, you're going to generate a similar look. Okay. You got to realize we have a different look because we've been here just such a small amount of time. If you look at the Indian hair, this is an East Indian woman. She's melanated, but look at the hair. It's straighter. They don't have that kink. I mean, and so I showed the brother this here. This is from, they came before Columbus. And this is a Mandingo head. It shows up in Mexico. This is in Mexico. And this is ancient. So is this. These are showing up in Mexico. Pre-Columbian portrait vessels, post-classic Negroid head in a Oaxaca. Okay. So anyway, that's just what I wanted to touch on with that. This is science. I'm just, this is from Hawaii. Touched on that. He sent a picture from these people. They have part of the kink. You can tell that these people were mixed with Australians, but they also have that African or that kinky ancestor. It's different than those straighter hair or curlier hair Australians. But the reason why we go through this kind of stuff is because we've been lied to. Black Americans have been lied to, so we're searching. And then when people get into conversations, they start debating and they want to insult each other. And that just really poisons the conversation. And so a lot of times you can't really get anywhere with people because they love to start debating and insulting each other and all this kind of crap. Yeah, which I try not to get into. Yeah, but the point is, we're going, and I'm just touching base on that. I'm gonna go through this here, this particular situation here. The oldest volcanic rock we have ever discovered may help us understand the building blocks of planets, the meteorite. Now, how I'm gonna tie this into the ideas and thoughts of God. What I'm saying here is this. This concept of God as being some immaterial force, just some idea, when all motion is in all of the things that matter to us is actually immaterial form, and we need to change that concept. So I want to go through. We just need to change that concept because I believe that we are God. The human being is the most advanced decision-making physical reality that we can find. So when we're praying, we should be praying to the highest manifestation of ourselves. And it's not you in your weakened state, but it should be basically to push the development of the human being, of the reality that we control, to its highest possibilities. And that's what I think. And as you attain a certain level, you can attain a human, which is civilized behavior, you can attain mastery, and you can attain a godhood status. And that's what I believe. God also were looked at as a group, a group. And these are scientists. So when you're talking about science today, that's what they used as God. When you're talking about a master scientist who can study materials, recreate and reform those materials, and to do certain things to get power, extract power out of it, and develop and advance the civilization and travel to other planets. That's what you're talking about, God. That's God. That was the concept of God. It was a scientist. It was a master scientist. You see what I'm saying? It's not the concept that we have today, which is basically a fairy tale. It is a fairy tale if you understand it the way that we're taught to understand God and religion. But I want to read this here. I'm dealing with science here because really science is how we prove that the power of God is in the human being. You see, the decision making of human beings changes reality on a massive scale. And we have to learn that because we have the potential to affect, if we keep ourselves smart enough, we'll get off this planet. And when I say get off this planet, I'm saying that we'll be blessed by the universe enough to advance to be able to see and view other planets and things like that. But the thing is, that's what you get when you get smart, when you get intelligence, and you start creating the best systems for human development. Then you start getting gods. You start getting gods, creators. You see, and the more power you attain, the more you have to have that moral development. And so that's where the religious concepts of righteousness and all those type of things come in, because you cannot give and you cannot pour into the human being supreme wisdom if that human being does not have supreme, morality. So here in this particular subject here, in this particular story, 4.6 billion year old meteorite is the oldest volcanic rock ever found. Now that's interesting because I'm going to show here what is the estimated age of the planet. Okay, so look at this, 4.543 billion years, which is so short. But look what they say here. 4.6. So they're saying that this thing here is a meteorite. Now, a meteorite had to fall on something. Don't we have a problem here? Something had to be here for this thing to fall on. And if it was just pure molten lava, this thing wouldn't even exist, would it? So let's see what they say. The oldest volcanic rock we have ever discovered may help us understand the building blocks of the planets. The meteorite, which was discovered in the Sahara Desert last year, now this is deep, last year, dates from just 2 million years after the formation of the solar system. I, I really don't think they have a good way to tell time. Do you think the scientists have a good way to tell time? I don't think so. I really don't think they have a good way to tell time because this doesn't make sense to me. But let's read on, and as the public, we're allowed to ask questions because if you're a scientist, you should be able to easily answer these questions. So I'm going to read on a little bit more before we end this off. I was trying to wait and see if somebody wanted to come up, but I guess not so. So it says here, I've been working on meteorites for more than 20 years now, and this is possibly the most fantastic new meteorite I've ever seen, says Jean-Alex Barat at the University of Western Brittany in France, when he and his colleagues analyzed the meteorite called ERG Check 002 or EC 002. They found that it was unlike any other meteorite we have ever located. It is a type of rock called andesite that on Earth is found mostly in subduction zones, areas where tectonic plates have collided and one has been pushed beneath the other, and rarely in meteorites. So andesite is places where tectonic plates have collided, one has been pushed beneath the other, and rarely in meteorites. Most of the meteorites discovered on Earth are made of another kind of volcanic rock called basalt. Analysis of the chemical makeup of the new meteorite showed that it was once molten and solidified. Dang, now listen, it was once molten and it solidified nearly 4.6 billion years ago. This means it was probably part of the crust of an ancient protoplanet that broke up early in the solar system's past. No known asteroid looks like that, like EC002, which indicates that almost none of these relics still exist. Nearly all of them have either crashed together to form planets or been smashed to bits. Now, like I said before, according to Google, age of the Earth. How does science determine its age? Let's look at it. They say this rock is older than the Earth, but it crashed to Earth. It was molten lava, but it solidified on Earth 4.6 billion years ago, which is older than the dang on thing is, which is older than the entire planet is. So that's weird to me. Let's say, how do they tell the age of the planet? The planet Earth doesn't have a birth certificate to record its formation, which means scientists spent hundreds of years struggling to determine the age of the planet. They still don't know. So just how old is the Earth? By dating the rocks in Earth, this is a speculation. This is what science is. At the end of the day, it is speculation on the available information. Okay, it's okay. By dating the rocks in Earth's ever-changing crust, as well as the rocks in Earth's neighbors. Now, if this thing was found in the Sahara Desert, that's interesting. I think Africa does not move. I think Africa is the only continent that doesn't move. Scientists have made several attempts to date the planet over the past 400 years. Wow. They've attempted to predict the age based on changing sea levels, the time it took Earth or the sun to cool to present temperatures, and the salinity of the ocean. As the dating technology progressed, these methods proved unreliable. For instance, the rise and fall of the ocean was shown to be ever-changing process rather than gradually declining one. And in another effort to calculate the age of the planet, the scientists turned to rocks that covers its surface. However, because of plate tectonics constantly changes and revamps the crust, the first rocks have long since been recycled, melted down, and reformed into new outcrops. So how does this, if the first rocks are gone, how is this thing here? It's older than the planet, they say. All right, so scientists also must battle an issue called the Great Unconformity, which is where sedimentary layers of rock appear to be missing. At the Grand Canyon, for example, there's 1.2 billion years of rock that can't be found. Come on, y'all. There's 1.2 billion years of rock that cannot be found at the Grand Canyon. This is science. I'm just saying, and it's okay. They don't know. That's fine. But the thing is, some of us think that a science means that there's no guesswork to it. And that's just not right. That's not true. You know, there are multiple explanations. They just come up with something. In early 2019, one study suggested that a global ice age caused the glaciers to grind to rock, causing to disintegrate plate tectonics, then threw the crushed rock back into the interior of the earth, removing the old evidence and turning it into new rock. In the early 20th century, scientists refined the process of radiometric dating. Earlier research had shown that isotopes of some radioactive elements decay into other elements at a predictable rate. So, yeah, by examining the existing elements, scientists can calculate the initial quantity of a radioactive element, and thus how long it took for the elements to decay, allowing them to determine the age of the rock. So they use radiocarbon dating, radiometric dating, I'm saying. So they find a radioactive isotope in the rock, and then they backtrack that in the way that it's going to decay. So the oldest rocks on Earth found to date are the Acasta genus in northwestern Canada near the Great Slave Lake, which are 4.3 billion years old. But rocks older than 3.5 billion years can be found on all continents. Greenland boasts of Issa supercrusta rocks, 3.7 to 3.8 billion years, while rocks in Swaziland are 3.4 to 3.5 billion years. All right. But in Swaziland and in Sudan, we just found a 4.6 billion rock. Australia found the oldest mineral grains on Earth. These tiny zirconium silicate crystals have ages that reach 4.3 billion years, making them the oldest material found on Earth so far. And now we found something else. Keep in mind, this story is written just a year prior to them finding. So this is February 2019. And then here we find This rock. So they need to go ahead and push the date of the Earth back. This is the best that they got. It doesn't seem too reliable radiometric dating because you can't really date the Earth because it keeps changing. It keeps changing its skin. This is all they got to go on. This is all they have to go. It's all they got to go on. But it 4.6 billion years, no. So anyway, let me see here. Yeah, but the thing is though, the thing is, what's going on, guys? You press the thumbs up button if you see this. If you want to come up and talk about any of these concepts that I'm putting out, you can come up. And let's see. Yeah, but basically, it's just a variety of concepts. I'm just talking about, your concept of God. Is science your God? Is God, the God concept, actually what we are taught it is today, or is the human being the closest thing to God in our reality? And does science, the concept of science today, is that the same is basically, does that produce the same idea that people back in the day when they heard the word religion or spirituality, is that what they believe religion was? Is it what we believe science is, basically? Because you have a lot of people that worship science or human concepts of explanations of the universe. You see, is the God of back then the scientist of today, the preacher? You see, so these are some of these kind of concepts, because the thing is, if we don't understand and study what these people meant when they even came up with this word God. You had the self-created God of Kemet. If God created himself, and that, that's just one. Then of course, we have Odin. We got Thor, the Norse gods. You got all these different type of gods. You got Shiva. You got Shakti. You got Atum. And this is what, this is basically what, people are dealing with. Is God a made up thing? Is that something that we just make up? And if so, how does a made up idea affect the real behaviors and motivations of human beings? Because even if people make up something, when we act on it, it results in factual. Uh, it produces effects. This is cause and effects. Hey, Koja, what's going on? Yeah, it produces causes and effects. So the thing is, let's see. What's going on, Koja?
Hey, how you doing? I
Good,
just
good, good. What you up to this morning?
headed home from work. Headed home from work.
Oh man, you working at night.
Yeah, it's the best shift. Old people, less
You
people.
sound tired.
Yeah. So
Dang. They beat you up today? But last night?
no, no. When I come, they in the bed, and when I leave, they in the bed, and that's how I prefer it. I ain't got to worry about no family members.
Right. So what do you think about that? What do you think about, because I know you probably have some ideas on that.
I missed the first half of the broadcast. I just
Well,
checked
yeah,
in.
yeah. I mean, basically, I went into some science. Basically, I'm asking this question. It's like this. Okay, what if the thing that we call God, when you hear that word, that sound, what pops up in somebody's mind, what if that's not the original way that word's supposed to have been used? What if, like, we think of God as kind of like our own, we worship our own ideas of God, instead of what people were when people came up with that word or that concept, whatever word and whatever language they used it as. When people what if they weren't talking about, something that we're thinking, the Christian God or the Muslim God or the Hindu thing? What if it was something that more practical and we just
Um,
made it up?
I think a lot of people call it different things. The religion is what man make it. That's what man make it. But I do think it's a higher power that up there. Is it what we learn in church? No. Is it got anything to do with the majority of stuff we see in church? No. Is the biggest devils in the church? Yes. So I don't know how you get to it, or what their concept of it is, but I don't think it's what we learn on in Sunday school. I
Now
think
think
it was
about
some
this.
great principles in that, but they rarely practice.
Now, so from saying that, because you did mention something that I didn't really touch on, which I should have. But if you notice, the devil and God is opposers. But like I said, the stuff that pops in our head today when we hear God and the devil is that's kind of like, if you look in science, that's kind of like positive and negative. You see what I'm saying? We kind of
Um,
we kind of change up. I think that this is what I'm saying. I'm thinking that we're taking these words in these religious things, these concepts, and today we kind of made it up into a fairy tale that people are getting sick of, because what's happening here is, you start really thinking about some of this stuff and you be like, well, that ain't true. That can't be true. The way that we were taught, it's not true. But what if it did have some kind of value or understanding, but we just being taught it the wrong way, to understand it the wrong way? Because really,
uh,
God and the devil are just the same thing as positive and negative energy.
um, I don't know about all that. I think we get the devil too much credit. I think we got some stuff in us, and when they go on and say man was made in God's image, well, God would like to be worshipped. So if we were made in His image, we kind of like to want to be our own little mini gods. I think we give a lot of credit. I always say the devil don't smile, don't scream. He whisper. He whisper to
Mm,
the part of us that do not want to exercise those godly principles or
mm,
and stuff. So, it's easy to blame. I ain't saying he isn't president, he doesn't have whatever, but I think we have a lot of our stuff we push off on him and blame it. Oh, the devil made me do it. No, that's kind of what you wanted to do. I ain't saying we don't have a world that is more catered towards that, but we have to exercise our muscles and do the hard things. And it's just so much easier and so much more fun to do the stuff that we see as ungodly. And it's,
mm,
and it really goes to the core of what we are and what we value. Because the most of the times when people say, oh, I've been blessed, it's something material.
mm.
And all of this stuff, gold, this, and it all go back to material. So is that really the principles of stuff, or what if you get a God to give you it's all material. It's never seen as a blessing of I'm getting this good feeling from helping my neighbor, my sister, my brother, or we want to be envied, or So I
Right.
think the God that and the principles that is espoused are rarely practiced, and you know, got to see the. I definitely have had times in my life when I was going through stuff and I felt His presence and stuff. But would I call that the stuff that I see in the church? No.
Mhm. Well, I think, like, now think about this. So there's some people who, like, let's just say somebody decides, okay, we're gonna worship this cow, I'm gonna worship this cabbage, right?
Mhm.
Now, okay, of course they had a right and they believe in that, and maybe give them some benefits if they was in a hard time. The cabbage popped in their head. Now, I'm not saying that I'm not, and the reason why I even picked those two, because there are people in the world that actually do that. They worship cows and some
Mhm.
cabbages. So it's not even to make fun because of that. But I'm saying that is that's what I'm trying to get at a little bit is because the God, this concept, even this word, if I say it to you, you're gonna think something. And if I say it to somebody else, they might think a little bit something different, even in the same church, like you say, because you like to say, you might look at somebody's behavior and be like, oh, that's devilish behavior. They might believe it too, it's devilish. But they come up with something in their mind. Like I know some people, they still, well, I'm hungry. They stole some chips out the store. I'm hungry. So, I gotta steal this. So God forgive me. You know what I'm saying? God could only judge me, all this kind of stuff. We're making some of this stuff up ourselves, but of course you can't tell us that in that moment. This is stuff that we have to kind of realize some of this because
A lot
what
of
we
it is power. It has nothing to do with God. Cause the biggest devils in the church. A lot of it is power and greed. And I don't really think when you get to the bottom of it, they have anything to do with God. That's all man.
well, think about this. Let me ask you this here. So, I mean, because the concept I have of God, and I was taught of God, is He's the creator of everything. So He allows the devil to exist, right? He even made the devil. So what I'm saying is that all of this. That's the reason why I have to look at it as positive and negative energy because even when you get boil it right all the way down to the real nitty gritty. Well, I'm talking about like the real nitty gritty. If
Hmm.
God, the creator, created the devil. So, the bottom line is it's something for a lesson, it's something to exist for a purpose. Now, of course, we're supposed to avoid this serpent, this type of energy, this type of negative, destructive, maybe murderous and lying and all these old type of concepts that we need to teach ourselves to avoid so that we can attain higher levels of life or whatever. But those things are available to us, and it was made available to us by the creator. Doesn't make it right for us, but it's available, so it allows us these type of choices. So that's what I mean, like, so that's what I'm talking about. Like, this is this just is interesting for us to kind of sometimes people act devilish.
I apologize. I was getting a phone call. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I hear
Okay.
you. I hear you. Yeah, but yeah, just what do you think about that?
I think we're here on a journey to be our
Mm,
best self. And to be our best self, we have to fight against our basic human urges.
mm,
And to get to that stuff, sometimes you got to go to God because we can't do it on our own. And the principles He espoused, but He all give us a choice. And we
mm,
create all these other things in the meantime to feel that because we still have basic selfish human urges and needs and the desire to be. I think it's the if he created us in His image. I think He created us to want to be worshipped too. Every man want to be their own little version of a mini god. So
that's
how
right.
do I do that? So you want
Mm,
to be at the top of the hierarchy, and how do we fight against those basic urges and to
right.
tame ourselves and get to that place because maybe man just inherently
Hmm.
evil. Maybe man don't want to
I
fight
think
against
you
his
I
urges.
kind of like what you said right there because you said we're on this journey and we're supposed see because it's like we're like children and see to me I look at to me we have to to this is how I go about this a little bit. And like I said, and all of this is to be proven in nature. Everybody can't go through it the way I'm thinking of it, but just how it appears and comes to me. No matter what's being said in churches, no matter what's being said in mosques, no matter what's being said online or whatever, I know that a supreme power created what I'm stepping on, the air that I'm breathing, the sun, the thing that's floating around this sun, these principles, this tree, this food, these type of animals and systems or whatever, and my body, how it's healing diseases, nature, basically. So that's kind of, I'm getting cues from that at least to kind of verify some of this stuff, because the thing is, in our human brains we can just make whatever we want to, really.
Okay.
And like you said, we can't, we come up with something, and like I said, let's say you decided that,
God, thank God whispered to us, and like people say, I think some of the principles are actually good, but the best of them we take it and we taint it
mhm,
with the other stuff that's selfish, and so we
right,
got kind of this mixture of what we want and what he wants. He wants us to strive to get to him. Like, you know what? I can't balance this. Every time I got this level and I go and put a little bit over here, now it's unbalanced. And I think God is the balancer of that. We can try on our own and
mm. So I like that too, because you said balance, because see, that's part of kind of what I believe too, because I don't believe like when they have I believe that we start going wrong when we do something that's over. Like, for example, let's say you want to be all pure love, you don't want to have nothing else but positive or whatever. But then maybe there's a point in time, just like I know the Bible says something like this, like there's a time for this and there's a time for that. There's a time,
a time for war,
yeah,
time for
you
peace,
have
a
to,
time to kill, a time
right.
to
See, yeah.
dance.
So there's conditions. There's things, our brain is evolved.
Ecclesiastes.
Yeah, our brain is evolved to make decisions. Like, that's what I'm looking at. Like, what is our purpose? Because if you look at a horse or a cow or whatever it is, these things you can look at, they're doing some of their purpose. They eat the grass of the field. They, balance the other animal with the predatory stuff or whatever. The bees producing the honey or the ants doing this or that, whatever. So why is the human being evolving this big old brain? What are we supposed to be doing? Instead of
And
saying
we're
this,
a little bit different from the animals because the animals do what they do because it's their nature as far as we understand. We don't know, they
yeah,
might got their own little language going on that we have nothing about. We just so
right,
egotistical that we just think we the best.
right.
But what they do from our understanding, they do for survival or whatever. We don't do it for survival. I mean, we don't, when you say steal, somebody go and steal some bread. Who made the system where somebody have to steal? That
Exactly,
they can't
human
just
being,
go and
right?
so
Because
we on a look.
you're right about that, ain't you? Yeah, because see, God's system, but you do have to work, right? You gotta grow something probably in God's system. Like, if there was no civilization, you would have to, if you wanted to eat, you have to probably grow it or you had to catch it.
But no, nobody want to be the person out there to grow it. What I want to do is, if I'm bigger and stronger than you, I want to make you do it. And then I want you to be fearful of me and revere me because I want the best of it.
Mm.
If,
You want to be, that's
and
the worship mentality in
yeah.
some human beings and stuff. But
And I
that's
want to eat the best of the field. I want the biggest juicy apple. I don't want the puny apple. So how do
mm,
we devise a system where I get the big juicy apple and what the grade A produce, and you get the grade C produce?
right. And that's something to be thought about too, because see, that's what I mean. Like, I think that when people have if you notice too in the world, when people have a concept of different concepts of what they worship, that what does that do for as the human being, as groups? Because actually, if you think about it, some of the most powerful groups on the planet of people, they have these what they call religious systems or spiritual systems, what have you. I know a lot of people say that religions and stuff like that divide people, but actually, I think that I don't know about that all the way, because even though people are always going to fight about something,
The
but like,
intent. most of our stuff is good. The intent of communism is good. The intent of socialism is good. The intent is the human nature and stuff that's not good, you know.
Right. We
And
let
we
the
so hypocritical. We
yeah.
will sit there and tell children to stand in line, but we'll be the main one fighting in Walmart, not as grown people, but not standing in line.
Right. Savage behavior, not civilized. But also too, there's other stuff that could create that uncivilized behavior. So that's kind of, it's like, this is just deep. And like I said, I was arguing like on this one thing black folks always arguing about where do we come from? The ones that's in America. We always talking
Hmm.
about like, oh, we Africans. Oh no, we was here already. Oh no, we were slaves and mixed up, and we
We
always
do that because they diminish our presence. If nobody was saying y'all ain't shit, we wouldn't be up here making that argument. But when somebody diminish your presence and your contributions, your fight back is this and that. If they weren't up here diminishing our presence and our this and that, we wouldn't have to say that. But it's a conversation because in order for it to maintain this hierarchy, somebody got to be on the bottom. I don't want to be in the fields with the goats and the cows and smelling shit. I want to be in the palace, and
now.
everybody can't be in the palace.
Is that a part of our nature, or is that something that we just conditioned? Because actually, what if they made it like, oh, the smartest people or the most richest people are actually the ones uh, that's esteemed?
Well,
They're
smart people
picking up
can't.
the.
They may be smart, but that still ain't gonna grow them a
No, that's
turnip.
what I'm saying. Like, what if you flipped it? That's what I'm saying. Like, what if you flipped it where, because today we have it like where the so-called smartest or so-called most successful people, they sitting up in some office or with some limousine somewhere. But if you flipped it where people believe that the people who grow the food or the people who make things are the best, wouldn't
It's
that would. Mhm,
it's the hierarchy. When Rick Scott decided to close our prisons,
mhm,
um, we had the doctor, we had the nurses, but guess what? The whole damn medical couldn't move without the secretary, the lowest paid
mm.
person on the totem pole. So
Think
it's
about that.
what we decide to say is valuable and to create this hierarchy. We always have to create a system of less. So they make that the most important.
Mm.
Those are you got to divide it out. Okay, you ain't got education. I got 1,000 people here. How do I divide up what's needed? We could do it on brute strength and survival of the fittest. They may not be the smartest.
Mm.
It just take a balance of everything, and it's just how we decide to do it. And the intent is good, but our selfish desires. Um, yeah, babe. I got to go in here and get these pants. I'll be right back. Okay.
Okay, y'all do.
Oh no, I'm talking about
But
baby. Um,
nah,
but
nah. Hmm.
it's
No, no, but
it's
that's
human nature.
well, I don't know because so I guess so. Like, I guess that's been in every society, but is that really in every society, or is it some more
Yeah,
of the Western societies?
no, it's all of them. It's all of them. Whether it's sexual, whether it's
Well, yeah, they
mental
are
or emotional, it's always something that, like I say, the devil don't scream, he whisper. If I'm Beyonce, what they gonna say? Oh, Beyonce, you fine, you can dance, but you dumb. Now I got to be feeling some type of way against the smart, nerdy girl over here. Yeah, they say I'm sexy and everything, but they don't respect me. They don't
right.
respect my intellect. So we always whispering to each other and insecure about what we bring to the table, according to some system of what other people put in place that
Mm,
is most or least valuable.
mm. Yeah, that's kind of deep because I think you hitting some good points because my thing is that the lies that have been told by people to maintain their position in the world is like, hello? Okay, I think she off. But yeah, the lies that been told by people to maintain their position in the world is caught up in these religions, it's caught up in these spiritual systems, it's caught up in the science. And she was right with the hierarchy, like you're better than you. This one's better than that one. Hey, what's up? What's up? Yeah,
Yeah, my thing checked
it's
out.
all good. Yeah, it's all good.
But it
But
comes from a place of lack of self-actualization, lack of confidence, and we have to perpetuate it. We have to keep it going because in order for me to maintain my dominance, I have to make you feel less and make you buy into this system. And
mm,
it's if you want to take the United States and racism, they got to have somebody on the bottom. Now, the people at the top who want to maintain the money, they know they cannot control if they 1% of the population, what we got 300 million in the US, 300 million people, they know physically that if they 1%, that would be what? 3 million. They know the
mm,
270, no, 297 million could come and take what they want. So I'm going to pick the biggest group, which is the 100 million or 150 million. And I got to divide this up to make sure that they have a vested interest in this. And how do I do it? I get the biggest group. The biggest group is, whatever. And I get them on my team. Because if I got the biggest group, then the other ones come against me. And so we create these hierarchies and we have to base it on different insecurities and stuff to maintain it. And that's what, kind of what the devil do and what man do. And we are not good enough to base it on other stuff. We strive to be, but at
mm,
the end of the day, if I'm this good person and I feel like somebody coming threatening my place, what's my natural intent going to be? It's
yeah,
hard to fight against it.
yeah. And you actually said something when you talked about the dominance hierarchy and how they set systems up to try to maintain that. And that is located in every system that they create.
Now, I'm going to
Because
blow your mind right now.
go ahead.
Men and women. What is and we got this Bible. And I was just telling people, I was like, Bible is the original pimpology that we use in this country.
Mm-hmm,
Now, women have been subjugated to be less.
mm-hmm,
We the number one, we're the highest population. Now,
mm-hmm,
women have to buy into this because statistically there are more women than men.
mm-hmm.
Men made this system, and we're gonna probably disagree, based on brute force. We could not physically outdo you, so y'all created this system on brute force. And then they say, "Oh, well, the Bible." Now the man edited the Bible. God might have inspired it, but man edited it.
Right.
And what systems
I
I
don't
say
agree with
before it was
that.
a racism, it was a sexism.
Mm-hmm.
And if they want to put an end to feminism and sexism, but who put that system in place that say that you're less because you got this and that percentage?
Mm-hmm.
But everybody have to buy into this. Everybody have to buy into it for it to work. Because if we're not going to work on brute force, we're going to work on laws. Legally, women could usurp everything based on just numbers. But I
Right.
got to divide them women up because now I got the white women and the black women. So now we got to divide that up, and when everybody want their piece of the pie, and if you are not part of the dominant majority, you just vying for a place to get your piece of the pie and your crumbs.
Now think about this though, because that is actually a good. I'm glad you said that as far as the sexism part, but the thing is, you got to think about this. This is what actually is when you divide men and women up. That's different than dividing racial groups up. The reason
No,
why
it
it's
ain't.
different. The reason why it's different. And I'm gonna tell you why. The biggest reason why it's different. If I put this racial group in Alabama and I put this racial group in Georgia, I do not allow them to mix with each other. Both of those groups are going to completely survive. But if I put all men in Alabama and all women in Georgia, both of them going to die out if they don't somehow figure out a way to mix with each other.
I'm
So
saying the
that's
power structure of it. I'm not saying that we don't need each other. I'm saying who put the power structure of it in place and that part of it in place.
right. And that's what I'm
Causing
saying. Now, as far as the sexism part, this is the reason why they can divide the men and women up effectively because there was abuse. And you're right, it was physical
based
abuse.
on
The men, uh, in according to the science, and this
the
is what they teach us,
caveman, beat the
Well,
bitch
yeah,
over the head and dragged her in and say you mine, and she couldn't physically fight him off. And because other women were afraid, they went along with it.
right. This is what they teach us. They teach us that because of the men's so-called naturally aggressive nature, and the women have all this extra estrogen in them, and estrogen can make you take a lot of stuff that you wouldn't normally take. You're going to this is how they explain it. Now it's a theory, but I'm not sure if I completely believe it, but I guess so. But because I know women can be very aggressive too when they want to be. But the point is, you know, within the groups of each other, if the men or the women are not, this is why you have to evolve your brain and your systems of civilization.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't evolve your God concepts of right and wrong, see, because you can't laws, if you got to keep making laws, then you're failing somewhere. Because your best bet, it would seem, at least from
I
my
think we
perspective,
need
you
laws
would
because
want
we are
people,
inherently lawless.
but you want people to have a baseline of controlling themselves. And we know that that's a little bit more possible than it was, because even though there was still crime and stuff going on 50, 60 years ago, 100 years ago, there's still crime going on. People was killing each other, people was raping each other, all that kind of thing, and stealing. But we know from the stories of our parents that there was a higher degree of respect going on.
Well, higher
And
degree of respect. And well, a higher degree of respect, people took what they wanted, and they still take what they want based
no,
on
now
brute
let's be
force.
truthful. Let's be truthful. Now I know we can say what we want, but we know I know you heard these stories too. You were able to leave your door open when you went to work. Have you heard that kind of story from your parents or from grandparents? I heard that story from many different
Mm-hmm.
people who didn't know each other. So that's one thing that I cite. This is what I'm talking about, respect. I'm not saying that they
We
didn't
ain't
steal.
had nothing to steal, and they couldn't afford no good locks anyway.
Okay. Well, I
People
mean,
ain't.
I'm just
You
trying to
lived in
get
a
you.
shack. How you gonna secure a shack?
Everybody that wasn't living in no shack. I'm
If
just telling. I'm just saying.
today,
I heard these
if I
stories up
want
in
something in
Detroit,
your house, if I want something in your house, I'm coming to get it. Ain't no lock
but
on that door to keep me from kicking that door in and coming to get what I want. We do have to have these laws and stuff in place
well,
because if people wanted what you want, ain't no law gonna stop them.
let's see. The gun laws. We know that those gun laws come from them trying to control the Black Panthers. And we know vagrancy laws come from them trying to control Black folks walking around because they just got freed from slavery. So all of these laws, I'm just saying we need laws, but I'm saying that actually when you run your society uh, on basic fairness, or at least attempts to be fair, you have less out of control people. People tend to, if it's a so-called fair type rule, you have a stabilizing effect. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that people don't get robbed, people don't get raped, people don't get. I'm not saying that that's going to completely go away. But all I'm just saying here is that when you start having an over reliance on force, which is what these laws are doing. These are laws are a policeman has to be there to see. You have to be able to prove, and they're going to force you to obey that law. And if they're not there, then you're going to disobey that law. That right
But the
there.
laws aren't fair to begin with, and that's why we have to have the force because they know the laws aren't fair to begin with. We
Okay, so
know,
that's the
it,
issue though.
but it's never fairness if it was actually fair and good and like it was supposed to be, we wouldn't have the issue. But the thing is, there are no laws. The laws are for some, so it's no fairness to begin with. Because
That's the
again, we have to have this hierarchy, this have and have nots, and these systems in place because that's what we need to make it work. I can't preserve mine without doing this, and the systems we have set in place can't work without dishonesty. It's hard for it to work with honesty because people don't want to um, tell the truth, and then there's no incentive in telling the truth. To be honest, what's the
Well, the
incentive in
thing is,
telling the truth? Up until
well,
recently, this is how the United
honestly,
States was conflicted. Up until
hmm
recently, a married couple got less in income, had paid more taxes than a single couple. In a country that's supposed to love marriage and wholesome and this and that, why would a married couple, if they file their taxes together, get less or pay more in taxes than a single company if you support marriage in this
but they
country?
don't
But that's
support
how it
marriage.
was.
They tell you,
But
they
I'm
tell
saying
you right
so because this
there.
country hypocritical because it's not based in the in that stuff because that's what it sounds good, but in reality it's not. It's
Well, that's
not
what
based
Frederick
in.
Douglass told us. He told us that a long time ago that their whole thing it started off in slavery. They talking about Declaration of Independence and all that kind of stuff. Black folks was telling them right before that, and even before the whole little Declaration of Independence even started off, that y'all hypocritical. This is gonna come back to bite you. And so yeah, that's the origin of this country. And that's what I mean, kind of like this concept of the gods, people just making up stuff and they think it's gonna work forever. And it don't actually play out in reality like that. It's just made up and a lie can work for just so long until everybody starts waking up to it. And like you said, people stop buying into it. And once the people stop buying into it, you can't control them with these ideas anymore. That's what I was getting at. If you get a real idea, a real true idea of goodness, you know what I'm saying? If you get something good, then people will tend to control themselves more. And I'm not saying it's not they completely control themselves that you don't need no law, but when people have they can rely on fairness of the system, then you're gonna see it's like just like right now. Look, used to be a time where if the police caught you and you was running away, they say stop. A lot of people will just turn themselves in. They'll hold their hands up and turn themselves in. But nowadays people fighting that because they're like, I don't know if you're gonna kill me. You see what I'm
because
saying?
because the basis of the system is corrupt.
That's my
We
point.
know that this system was based in the prison system evolved out of slavery. We know that was just a continuation, a way to continue slavery and stuff like that. So no basis of this. It's all made to preserve this hierarchy and this thing. So it's never gonna because inherently people are selfish. Very few people have the ability to say, I'm not gonna get all of the pluses and minuses. Sometimes I'm gonna get some of the minuses. But nobody wants the minuses and nobody is willing to give up their space.
Mm. So
Very few people, and it's not even cool to do it.
mm,
You are looked at as weak
mm,
if you play fair because the strong person make the other one submit. We have this big thing with submission. Is all through our language, all through our
yeah, you're
actions.
right.
We are not.
Yeah. Simp. You ever heard that simp? This is what they use for men. And see, this is what I mean. Like, I know that it is the battle of the sexes, but actually the aggressive people, male and female, because if a woman gets, let's say she gets slighted or betrayed or whatever, and she gets disappointed in one relationship or something, and she might make a promise to herself that ain't happening to me no more. I'm not gonna be boo boo the food next time. And so the next dude, he might be trying to do the right thing. He gonna get the punishment, right? Because she doesn't want to be that loser no more. That ain't gonna happen to her no more. She's gonna be the one, you know, causing the pain. You see what I'm saying? I don't want to be the prey no more. I'm gonna be the predator. So that happens on both sides, and that's what I mean. All this submission stuff. The men
But
are
that
trying
come
to
into our society what we have determined what are losers and winners. That's
exactly.
our that's because that's the view that we put out there. You lost. Now I'm just not the chick for you. I'm not it for you. Cause for somebody, I'm gonna be. a 10. And for some people, I'm gonna be a 2.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody want to be a 10, so everybody in competition and all this other stuff, because we have accepted a set of values of what we consider that to be winning, and what is considered to be winning is directly contradictory to the goals and stuff that we espouse.
Now think about now. Let me tie this right back to what you just said. That's why I'm really trying to get at the concept that people have of God, because your God is supposed to be your ultimate moral, even if you don't do this thing right, but at least you know what's right. You see what I'm saying? To you, and this is the right thing to do. Sharing, you know what I'm saying, being good to people, doing unto others as you had them do unto yourself, telling the truth, you know what I'm saying, not stealing, not killing for no reason, not, these are like good. And then that's supposed to be the winner in your head, even if you don't do it all perfect. And then the losers is supposed to be the liars, the people who do the opposite. But when you
But they the
see in
winners.
reality, and when you see in your actual life, though, when you tried to be good, the stuff that you was taught to be good, because this is what you was taught in church, this is the God concept that you was given. This is good. When you tried to do that, and you are a simp, you're a loser, you're pathetic, you're not good enough, you know what I'm saying?
But that's the
Now
man
you want
portion.
to be
That's
the
not the
devil.
God portion. That's the man portion.
Well, that's my point, though. That's exactly what I'm talking about, because we are the men, we are the people. That's what I'm talking about. How are we internalizing this? How is this playing out in our lives? Because the way we think about this stuff. Now, the actual God, of course, He's gonna do what He do. It don't have nothing to do with us. But I'm talking about the way we think of it. Is it the way is it wrong? Is it because it's not playing out like a lot of us believe it should
We
play
have
out?
a carnal nature. We have a carnal nature, and that we are not taught that we have this nature, and we have to suppress it. I mean, we have to address it. I'm not going to say suppress it. We have to address it, acknowledge it, and this and that. But nobody wants to say, yeah, I like looking at porn, and I enjoy it, and for whatever reason I enjoy it. Maybe it just hit that part of my brain that make my whatever do whatever. We don't want to
Mhm.
admit that, especially in America. They don't even want you to smoke weed. They don't even
But they
want you to
make it
drink.
weak.
We the most hypocritical. They have these things that they have nothing to do with God, that have to do with man, but we push it off on each other, and it's just really man. We corrupt everything because we don't realize our corrupt nature,
Well, okay,
and
and I mean,
we can
and it might
address
be our
it, but we have
nature.
to acknowledge it.
Yeah, and it might be our nature, but don't you think it kind of throw a lot of stuff in this world, the system? It literally throws a lot of stuff towards your, like you say, that part of your nature that is weakened to basically like Malcolm X said, they're gonna sell you the alcohol, and then when you drink the alcohol, you get drunk and you start doing all this crazy stuff. Then they arrest you for being drunk, or they'll sell you the weed, and then when you smoke the weed, they arrest you for having the weed. It's like this system literally tells they'll give you something that might not be good, and then they'll take the moral high ground when you accept it. So they kind of bait and switch people, and that's what I
It's that
mean.
thing about balance. And I'm
Yeah, they
going
kind
through a
of.
little bit of dead zone, but it's that thing about balance and moderation,
Mm-hmm.
and learning, hey, and teaching it in such a way. When you go to church, they talk about stuff in such a way that it's not actually believable, or teach you the skills to obtain that.
Right, self development.
They make you really address and talk to people on a real level of how to
Mm-hmm.
navigate through those temptations and stuff. We just say, oh, pray about it. Now, all I'm going to pray
See,
about it, I'm going to leave this alcohol alone, and I'm going to stay from the strip club to help me.
yeah, You can't do that if you're not balanced, like you said. Because the thing is, though, everybody have a different. Like for example, like you said, maybe your thing, a weakness might be alcohol, and then this person's weakness might be, I don't know, something else. You know what I'm
Joyce
saying?
Myers
So,
called it a tailor-made infirmity. If
mhm,
I'm a woman, let's say something, I grew up and I was sexualized, and
right,
wearing short skirts triggers something in me that bothers
hmm
me. It's
right.
not my job to say, Shaniqua over there can't wear that short skirt because you have an issue. That's your issue. But we try to take our stuff and say this the one way for everybody. But even if they take that Bible, God didn't deal with Job the same way he dealt with Abraham, the same way he dealt with Jesus. Everybody has Joyce Myers said tailor-made infirmity, but we go wrong when we try to force our issue as the issue for everybody. God to deal with everybody, or however he at his own time and will. And how he deal with me, he may not deal with you because we may not have the same issues because we ain't got the same life.
Well, yeah, I believe that, but at the same time, do you think there's a general? You see, this is what I mean by like, it's just like, for example, if we look at the man's law, right? Okay, there's a generality about it. Now, true enough, you might go to court, you may get treated a little bit different. But like, let's say we ran or the speed limit, and the police caught us both. We ran the speed limit. We went over it the same amount. Both of us should get something. Meaning, I mean, you should at least get a ticket. You should have to answer for it. Maybe the court system, maybe you knew what to do and you claimed no low, or you did different way, and maybe it came out a little different. But what I'm saying is, like, that's the general rule. Like, okay, if you go over the speed limit this much and the police see you, they should there should be some kind of effect on you. And that's all I mean. Like, so with the law, just like with gravity, God's law. Okay, let's say you jump out of the airplane, but you didn't have your parachute. Gravity's still gonna pull on you. You might kill you, but they jumped out of airplane. They had a parachute. Gravity's gonna pull on them, but they had the means to make it act differently on them. So what I'm saying is like, for example, if there's a, let's say, a no nudity policy, or let's say you got a bunch of men in your society, and true enough, it don't have nothing to do with you as an individual, but you live in a civilized community, and they're like, okay, we don't want people walking outside the house with this, or this. That's considered in our society like, no, we shouldn't have that. So that you can wear whatever you want to as long as it don't show these parts on your body. I think that's fair. You know what I mean? That because it doesn't, and now you may go to a whole nother society and be like, well, we don't care if you wear no clothes because we don't care about none of that. You see what I'm saying? So I think that, you know, some true
But
enough.
people hold other people responsible for their weaknesses.
Well, that's
You
true.
can't sit up here
That's
and talk
true.
about my ankle gonna make you sin against me because you want to put you're the man, you the stronger one, you the stronger vessel, but you're gonna say because you saw my ankle, it made you this. No, that was your inherent lascivious, lustful nature. And but you don't
Right.
want to take responsibility for that. So I'm gonna blame you, weaker vessel, because it's the men are stronger than the women. It's called
Now, where do you
I
get this
know,
weaker
I
vessel?
know I know you're a man and you got the same nature I got. So if I rape somebody and you rape somebody, we can't hold each other accountable because we don't want to die. We just gonna blame her and we stronger, so we can do that. So that's what we're gonna do. And then we put enough fear in the women that we get other women on our side because they want to live, and we get them to blame them too.
Well, the thing is, though, I mean, let's think about that though, because I agree with what you're saying on that level, but at the same time, both sides of any conversation actually do that. So it's just something that is part of the human. Because the thing is, if let's say I disagree with you, I'm gonna say, well, you doing the same thing. You know what I'm saying? And I can come up with something like, well, you trying to hold me responsible for what you don't want to do or whatever. So instead of that, I'm just trying to look at it like this. Okay, What is the harmony? What is the situation where? Because like you said, now when you talking about the ankle thing, yeah, we need to develop these men. If an ankle, bro, if that right there mess you up where you feel like you can't control yourself, even if a full body,
No, because
exposed,
the
but
majority
at the
of
same time, you have to be like, okay, while we got these crazy people out here, here's a basic nudity rule, but at the same time, here's the teaching that we have to bring into our culture that that keeps that produces the
but
average person to
y'all
keep them straight. We don't have
but
that
y'all
going.
men are not in control of y'all nature, and because you all have the power structure, you all put it on us women. But inherently, they'll take your penis and get everybody know the man get hard first thing in the morning. When you wake up, it's that.
Hmm.
They'll go in there and blame, oh, well, this 12, your daughter was in the bathroom bathing, and I saw her and she left the door cracked on purpose. And instead of blaming your nature, you blame that child that was in the bathroom.
Well, you got to
And
realize
because
when we
I'm a
say y'all,
man and
the
we
thing
live in
is,
a society, we'll say, you 39-year-old man is not as strong as that 12-year-old girl in there.
well, the
And we're
thing
going
is,
to blame her.
Koja, though, there's a law against that, and see what happens with especially a lot of the debates. I just had a so-called, I don't even want to call it a debate, but I try to have discussions with people because a lot of times the things don't change with people debating, and when you say y'all,
I'm
then
just saying, in
what's gonna
society,
happen? What ends up happening is this: all the men who would be on your side and agree 100 and 1,000% with your perspective, you're actually shooting them too,
well, let
and that.
everybody, when we saying this, we're talking about majority prevailing thing in dominant society. Because the reality is, most of the time, some a woman is raped. Not saying you specifically in general, society view it and will hold that woman more accountable than she will that man. So that's just been the nature. That's why they wanted to stone the woman. And they say she was out sin cast the first stone. Because that is how, because the majority, the strong, the brute force have for centuries and centuries had the ability to do that, to put that fear there. And it's happened over years, and they still will. They'll still, now, the thing coming out by R. Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
R. Kelly supposedly raped some boys too and did some sexual misconduct with some boys. Now,
Mm-hmm.
guess what? Them same men that view R. Kelly say, oh, that girl was ready. She was whatever. Yeah, I seen her in them panties. She was ready. I guess them same men gonna turn a whole different way when they find out he was raping some of them boys. And they ain't gonna say, them boys weren't ready. It's gonna be a whole different thought process.
Well, the thing is too, the way I look at that situation with R. Kelly, because I know for a fact we living in a space where there's a bunch of lies going on. They tell the truth about people when they ready to destroy somebody, and so
It
I
still
don't
don't
even
change
know.
what they did. Destruction or
But I
no
don't
destruction.
know. I don't know because they just I'm listening to a liar
And it's
tell
at the
me something
same
about
day.
somebody who
You're
else
a
did
man.
something.
You have a daughter.
Well, I don't make
But I'm
my
saying,
decisions.
regardless what
I got
society
three
want to
daughters.
view it or not, okay.
I don't
So
know if that man is
if
guilty though.
but hold
I
up,
got a son too.
if this 29-year-old man came and made a pass or had sex with your 12-year-old daughter, no matter if she been getting her period since 9 and
If
she had
I
a
know it happened,
and
if
so
I know it happened, not because somebody just said
if
it
I'm
and I
no,
didn't
if
check
I'm
it
sitting
out.
there watching this grown man pee on this 13, 14-year-old girl, ain't nobody got to tell me if I know happened. And but
Well,
the
you
whole
seen
thing
it.
is
Now
they
that's
go to
different.
moving the goalposts. They'll move the goalposts from did I know what happened to, oh, she looked like she was ready. Oh, she agreed. Oh, she ain't look like no virgin. But at the end of the day, if you had a 13-year-old daughter and
I
you
got
saw a
one.
grown okay, and you saw a
I
grown
saw if
man
I saw and I
peeing on that girl and having sex with her, it is that grown man thing. It is no way, it's never a child, male or female, responsibility to keep a grown man's sexual nature in check. It's never that. But we'll move the goalposts and we'll say, well, we didn't know. Well, we this, and we're always moving the goalposts depending on that. And unfortunately, we
See,
have a
the thing
society.
is, I mean, I agree with you 100% because I will chop somebody's head off that I that mess with my daughter, and I'm definitely jumping. Even if a suggestion of that, I'm immediately going to investigate and check that. But as a man, I have growing up have been accused several times in different situations by people of stuff that I know for a fact that never happened. And then later on, they said, "Oh, they just made that up." So I'm saying to you that if we get into this emotional, this is the reason why you have laws and rules. And the thing is, people get all the emotional, and I mean, I know it's an emotional situation, but I'm saying, especially for groups of people that we don't know personally, if we don't know, we just listening to news and stuff, and then we take these things so personal, and we read the stuff, and then we don't really know. It's just suggestions, and they'll put that stuff out on the news when they ready. We knew we was trying to take R. Kelly down what in the 1990s, but they didn't want to listen then when he was making the videos. But now all of a sudden he's no use to them. Take him down. See, that's why I don't
That don't
listen
really
to
have
the
nothing to
news.
do with it for me. That don't have whether they taking him down or not taking him down. It has nothing to do with it. The act that he committed, and
Well, the
whether
thing is, I don't know about the boys being.
society have a thing to take him down or not. At the end of the day, that's a young girl that got impacted, whose life is
Well, you talking
forever
about a girl,
changed.
but you said the
Who will be a
boys.
mother who will take those scars with her and
You
perpetuate
talking,
some of that or all of that
are
onto
you
her
talking
daughter
about
if
the
she
boys or the girl? Because you at
the
first you
boys
were talking
and the
about
girl. No,
boys.
I said they're going to change the way they view it. A lot of people are going to that didn't have a
Well, he's
problem with
supposed to have
him
been
messing with
grown.
those girls. Them, it's a lot of men who will sit there and be like, "Oh yeah, that's my nigga. He did that." Da, 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 da. The same, some of them same men that didn't have a problem with him doing it to them girls will have a problem with him doing it to them boys because the value we place on boys and girls.
Well, that's just some people though, and that's probably
I'm
I
saying, but
believe
that's
that
why I'm
that's a
saying we have no
minority.
consistency in our outrage and our laws and how the goalposts is changed depending on the age of somebody, the sex of somebody, whether they have money or not, or and all these other factors that impact it. And to me, at the end of the day, if it was Haley Berry doing it to a young boy, it would still be the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't go. I like I said, if it's like some people be going tit for tat. They try to find somebody who they can put. That don't to me, wrong is wrong. And my thing is, R. Kelly should have been taken down back in the 90s. To me, once I realized that and I verified that he was actually messing around with
But who
Aaliyah,
excused a
but
lot of
my
that
thing,
behavior?
huh?
But within that in the 90s, what he did was very common. What he
Well,
did was very common. And instead of us acknowledging, you know what, we had some fucked up stuff about us back in the day. We did some stuff that wasn't cool. That was some nasty stuff. And because some of us will, and I'm saying some of us humans will still want to engage in that type of behavior, we won't call it what it is. And we won't call it, yeah, that's what they did back then. It was dead wrong.
it
Ain't
was
no way
sick.
we're gonna
We're sick.
justify it, and we need to go and move forward. But see, some men and women who will still want to engage in that behavior. Because I had a school teacher, I had a lady who, she was a school teacher. She was older than us, and I like the boy who worked in Burger King with me. I'm like, I can't even get this to him because this old bitch coming picking him up every day at night when he's supposed to be walking me home from school. So I feel the same way.
Well, I had my brother had that happen to him because and my
So
cousin actually.
it doesn't change, but will change the goalpost depending on the things instead of having one consistent rule because the nature of us. If your sin look like my sin, is not a sin. For example, it is
That's
accepted among
yeah.
most religions that premarital sex is a no-no. Fornication is a no-no outside of marriage.
That's what it's supposed to
Now,
be. Yeah,
heterosexual fornication is a problem, but we'll go and fucking screw and lie and say, I'm gonna get with God on the back end. But
right.
you'll take that homosexual who out there doing the same thing and saying, I'm gonna get with God on the back end and have a whole different. if you could go and live your debauchery and your this and that and get with God on the back end, but and you want to enjoy it now, but yet and still you don't want this other person over there to enjoy their sin and debauchery and stuff and get with God on the back end. Because we
Well,
done created a
because
hierarchy.
what happens is what's going on is this, like you said, there's different rules and people, but the thing is the results of sin. A real, and when I say a real sin, a transgression, that it has actual negative effects on other people that we don't care nothing about. Like you said, I decide to go, mess with
And we
somebody,
decide
mess with
that young
somebody.
girls
Yeah,
are
I mess with
not.
somebody on the young end or whatever, and just, just, just confuse the mess out of their mind, or I do some crazy stuff. And what happens is, yeah, that little moment I had a little so-called fun or whatever. But then now you got several traumatized people. You got all this other stuff that's going on, and then they coming back to get me because that was sin. That was unlawful. They they were violated. You see what I'm saying? This is why wrong is wrong. It's in man's law. It's they can make up whatever they want to, but in reality, in the real world, wrong is wrong because it has consequences that hurt people. And even if it don't hurt you right away, you know what I'm saying? It could warp your thinking. You know what I'm saying? Like, just like for now I know nobody want to hear this. But see, this is the facts. R. Kelly, he was messed with when he was a little kid by his older sister, right? You know that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that, but see, they don't, y'all, nobody wants to hear that because it's nothing. This is what happens. People who get twisted and messed up, they grow up and they start doing that to other people. So my thing
Because it's
is,
been passed down for the majority of the problems we actually have been passed down for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and thousands of years, and it's all off the same thing. Instead of us addressing it now, what it is, instead of us addressing greed, because the greed, the the poor nature of humans, just our nature, makes us susceptible to things, and we don't call it out because when my sin look like your sin, or it's similar to it, or it's a cousin of your sin, we create these rules and these hierarchies and these majorities and all of the things that we supposed to espouse against are the things that we actually support
yeah,
because it's our
and
nature.
well, at the same time, though, when you live in a civilized world, you're supposed to try to
But
actually
man ain't
fix stuff.
civilized.
Well, I'm saying the world, you're supposed to, because let's say I'm acting uncivilized, but I'm hurting other people. So it's going to be they're going to want to they're going to want to put me away, kill me. You see what I'm saying? When you living close to other people, your mess, the stuff that you're doing, people going to correct you somehow. They're going to change your behavior because you're hurting them. If you driving over the speed limit too much, it's a reason that speed limit is there. And they're going to change. So that's what I'm saying. Like when we live in a so-called civilized society, then there's certain rules that allow us to even be able to live near each other. Otherwise, we'd be done killed each
But
other.
what we have to realize is we have not been and admit we have not been living in a civilized society. We have
Now
not.
we're not.
We just had 4 years ago Roy Moore, a man that had sat on the judicial bench twice in Alabama, who was
Mm-hmm.
outlawed from a mall, and we're not in a civilized society, and that's what we got to admit. We are trying
That's
to
true. I
get
agree with that.
there,
You're right.
but we
You're
are
right about
not
that. I
there. And
agree.
as long as we keep saying we there, it's part of the problem.
But if you
We're
notice
not
what I
there.
said, if you notice what I said if, because I know I agree with you, it's not civilized. But I'm just saying if we're supposed to be, this is what we're trying to get to. It ain't real right now because, like you said, I mean, 1000% I agree with you. This is not civilized. But if we're supposed to be trying to get to something like that, a reason we're supposed to try to fix people, right? So if I see so-called, somebody that did some raping or some crazy stuff like that, maybe they do need the death penalty, right? But who did they traumatize? Who did they who got affected by that? These people need to be put in therapy. You can't just let people just go like that. You know what I'm
But
saying? And,
if
and
my
then
daddy,
and then go ahead.
if my daddy a judge, I can't go into therapy.
Well, my thing is this like this. And see, that's another thing. See, I don't even really. There's only some because this society is so sick and it's been so sick for so long.
Since
I
man,
don't necessarily if you get a chance, if we get a situation where we have a chance to actually start trying to repair some of this stuff. I mean, there's only a few things I agree with death penalty right away. But I think you should pay these therapists. Like if you get into jail, if you got to go to jail for something, to me, you can't get out if it's like a non-violent thing, or even let's say it's a something happened like that. If it's something where you can't get out unless you've been cleared up of this. Why did you do this? You're gonna have to get therapy like in jail.
but even the
That's how
nature
I would
of the people we have on the bench is something. It's going to be controversial. What I'm going to say. Even the people that were supposed to be
Yeah, Brett
the
Kavanaugh.
judges, no, even the judges had to be. We had to have a whole domestic violence law to address women being done because judges could always address domestic violence, but the inherent nature of what was a white male dominated field did not actually see anything wrong with what was happening to women. And there was white bitches they was because it wasn't even concerned about us. But just the inherent nature of that and the power structure and the hierarchy, they had to make it what they call it, not discretionary. They had to make it it couldn't be discretionary. It had to take the judge's ability away to automatically dismiss something because that was their true nature and they didn't really find a problem with it.
Mm.
And that's the true nature of man, that when we can exert dominance and brutality over a person or a child, we will do it. And if we don't acknowledge that and put measures in place for that, then we're not gonna we have to have these some of this stuff.
I think it's more to do. I think that human beings got the ability to
I'm
behave
I'm, I'm
much
going
more
back in the
better.
boondocks.
Oh yeah, no, that's all good because we're about to end it anyway. But I'm gonna let you get the last word. But this is my last word here. I think that human beings we got the ability to behave much more nicer than what we're seeing today, and much better. Even though we're not going to ever be perfect, but I think we got a lot of space to improve in our behavior quickly. But the thing is, though, if you're in the right system, then a lot of this stuff that we're seeing, that's all of this disgusting stuff, it's going to calm down. And I don't think that just throwing people in jail, killing people, punishing them just like that way in that way. Now you got to have punishment, but I'm not saying. I'm just saying like just throwing somebody in jail where they can get raped and beaten up. And then you let them right back out and they all raped and stuff. What they gonna do? They gonna go because they got beaten some more and raped some more. They gonna go mess with somebody else's kid.
They learn how to be better criminals, better
So
pedophiles.
that's all I'm saying. So I'm saying like we get so emotional with some of this stuff just because it's some bad stuff that's going on, but are we gonna actually trying to talk about actually fixing it, or are we just gonna trying to find people
We got
to
to admit our
argue with?
nature. Let me say this here.
Yeah.
If they come right now and say I could get me some food stamps and I got to tell a little white lie to get it, I'ma get it. Cause
Just like
that's
that
nature.
PPP
But we
loan.
got to start I ain't getting that because I don't want to go to jail. See, that's that law that keep my inherent greedy nature back.
Hmm.
So we have to have some of it, but we have to have some conversations about and some things to address the inherent greed within us, the gluttony and all them seven deadly sins and that's inherently within us. And how do we begin to fight them and acknowledge them? to put stuff in place to keep us from doing some of that stuff. Because sometimes we just got to have, a barrier because we don't have the strength of that or
Yeah,
whoever
I'm
your
gonna go
higher
ahead and
power
I'm
is.
probably gonna set that up too, because that is a good topic. Because we're gonna have to try to figure that out. But yeah, we had the 2 hour mark, so we're about to end it off. I know you got to get to your children and take it and go to sleep because you just get off of work.
All right. So,
All right, he
wait for
probably
them.
phasing out anyway. All right
Yeah.
then, so we're about to end it off. All right, peace. All right, and I'm just gonna put it right here, guys. The main purpose of this conversation was just to get us to think about a few concepts that we got, because really most of this stuff comes from the thinking of human beings. It's not some, I don't think it's, I mean, there's a power outside of ourselves, but most of the power is inside of our mind, inside of our capacity to think and understand, and that's what's going on. All right, so peace out.